This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per talk.
5 and 6 million. He is hell-bent on global domination. We just broke our 100,000 units sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
Okay, Top Tribe, this week's winner of the $100 is Rhett Gillens. He's in the restaurant industry, and he feels stuck. He wants to start his own software business. So congratulations, Rhett, for your guys' chance to win $100 every Monday morning. Simply subscribe to the podcast on iTunes now in order to enter, and then text the word Nathan to 33444 to prove that you subscribed. Many people ask me how I used email to sell my first company, Heyo, and it's simple. You want to do things like open tracking so that you know when a potential buyer actually opens your email or potential new customer. You also want to set reminders so you can quickly know when to follow up with somebody if they haven't replied to you, or use things like auto follow-up sequences. You can do all of this with a company called thetopinbox.com. In fact, I liked it so much, I bought the whole business.
Nathan Latka here. The holidays are coming on us so quick, guys, as you're traveling. Don't forget, listen to the Top Entrepreneurs podcast. The kids will love it, you will love it, and it'll make you smarter. Tomorrow morning's no different with Chad Rubin, who went from zero to 300 grand in monthly recurring revenue in 16 months by helping 300 e-commerce brands streamline their data with his company, Skubana. Top Tribe, good morning. Nathan Latka here. Our guest today is Alexander Graubner-Muller. He is currently the CEO of KreditTech. Started off as their CTO, is now, again, he's founder and now is the CEO. Now, before that, he was a senior business development manager at Groupon. And prior to that, he was very active in kind of the financial space, including an internship at equity derivatives at UBS and some other places at UniCredit. So Alexander is now in the fintech space, Forbes 30 under 30, running KreditTech. Alexander, are you ready to take us to the top?
Yes, indeed, I am.
All right, very good. Tell us more quickly, what does KreditTech do and how do you generate revenues?
It's very simple. I mean, we're an end-to-end consumer lending company. However, the catch in our case is that we have developed our own technology for doing the credit rating. And that technology very heavily uses alternative data and machine learning to build a credit rating, also in the absence of credit bureau data. And that gives us a very powerful rating instrument on hand, which would allow us to actually offer credit and access to credit to underbanked consumers all around the world.
With your kind of internal technology versus the typical kind of credit reporting technology, what kind of deviation do you typically see between what credit score you will assign consumers versus what a bank would?
So it's not so much how much uplift we're creating on top of, let's say, a normal credit underwriting process. In fact, we actually enable to make credit business with a certain customer group in the first place. I mean, let's imagine, right? I mean, there are people out there who, for just the reasons of their economic circumstance, their income patterns, and the absence of credit history, don't make it through the approval process that banks are using for credit underwriting. And that obviously, puts those people quite to a disadvantage, I think, particularly when it comes to unexpected expenses and being in need to actually refinance themselves. And what we're doing is, with our technology, we are, for the first time ever, actually able to provide a credit rating for those customers and actually enabling to do credit business with them.
And do you do this in any specific industry or vertical, or is it all over? So small business, credit lines, real estate. Could you have any sector focus or no?
So we focus on consumers, and of course, in many of those cases, I think, a lot of people basically use our loans for businesses as well, particularly, those, which are like small and micro entrepreneurs and basically people who run their own businesses. But our key segment is really, to go after consumers and after consumer credit risk. And the average credit product that we offer is an unsecured loan. So we are not really interested, for which purpose, it is use. We know that, I mean, most of our customers are using the loan, the funds which are providing, I mean, for financing either large investments, or financing purchases, for financing larger items like electronics, for instance, for financing medical expenses, and simply to cope with unexpected financial shortages. And I mean, we are in many cases actually the only possibility for access to finance.
And so, Alexander, how are you making money? Are the consumers paying you, or the banks that lend to the consumers paying you? Who pays you?
No, we're actually a lending company, so it means we like to, take credit risk ourselves. And I mean, the way how we make money is, I mean, the same way how every bank does money by charging an interest on the loans that we are originating.
So currently, as of today, kind of November 2016, how much in total loans outstanding are you guys at?
So we have, since the start of the company in 2012, we have originated a bit more than 1 million loans by now, and we have a total outstanding book of around 60 million at this point.
Okay, so you've done over 1 million loans, just counting them, and those loans add up to about 60 million bucks.
Well, I mean, 60 million is around the current outstanding amount of receivables. I mean, as you know, most of our loans are comparatively short in maturity, so the average duration is around 10 months.
Oh, okay, so
which
they
means
turn
that
quick.
obviously cycle our book very quickly. So it's not like 20-year mortgages. I mean, they just sort of like keep sitting on the book for ages.
So what you're saying is, they turn over quickly, every 10 months or so. But as of like right now, you've got about 60 kind of million kind of outstanding and unsecured.
Correct.
I understand. That's great. And for my audience that might not be savvy in the kind of the fintech or kind of banking space, can you put that in context anyway? I mean, is that high? Is that low? Is that normal? What's that average per person that you've loaned to?
So, I mean, it really depends on who you're measuring yourself against. I mean, for us, last year when we, for the first time, actually broke the 100 million origination, for the entire year 2015, I mean, that was clearly, a very, very important milestone for us. However, if we measure ourselves against the size of Wells Fargo or Capital One, it's clearly, it's clearly a fraction of their size. They clearly dwarf us, with their volume. However, for us, the most important thing is sort of like the amount of consumers we have done business with, because we say, hey, every consumer that we're serving is basically a consumer which did not have the means to obtain financing before.
It's a new market.
In our markets, correct. And therefore, we were actually very proud when we broke the 1 million of consumers a couple weeks ago.
And that was, just to be clear, that was just in 2015. You wrote over 100 million in loan originations.
Exactly, and as we had a fortunate situation that we are obviously growing very fast. So we are definitely, we will definitely be significantly above that this year as well.
Alexander, what does growing fast mean? Are you growing 100% year over year?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And then, so tie this back, because it's still kind of vague, even for myself. If you do $100 million in kind of loan originations, especially in 2015, tie that back to revenue for us. So how much money do you guys make as a company on that much in loans originated?
We made last year around a bit more than 40 million in revenue.
Okay, and again, can you describe to us again how you make that?
It's an interest rate that we're charging on the loans. We have just as any other lender. We're charging basically for the originations. There are also a couple of other fees which we charge for certain services. But in essence, it's interest-based revenue.
And are these interest rates kind of consistent across all of the kind of million individual consumers you've worked with, or is it specific to each person based off the credit score that your internal?
No. Probably, if you compare also to other lending companies, you probably have the widest spectrum of interest rates.
Interesting.
Which is probably due to the nature of the customer segment that we are serving. So, I mean, we apply risk-based pricing. So that means we, on an individual basis, assess the credit risk of the customer, and therefore, I mean, then decide what's the most optimal credit offer that we can make to that individual. And in certain cases, I mean, we initially already have a lot of confidence. So that means we can, I mean, we feel comfortable on actually offering, I mean, a larger term personal loan with, I mean, lower, basically pretty low APR interest rate. On the other hand, I mean, for certain customers, especially those where we are not able to get a lot of to get hold of a lot of data, we're a bit more restrained, and then we only offer a loan which is short in duration and comes at a considerably high APR. And we do that initially because we want to make business with these customers. We want to provide them an option.
How high? Is this consistent with like hard money lenders, 12, 13% or no?
So on the upper end of the spectrum, sort of like the loans that we underwrite are maximum like 1 month loans, and those cost around 30% cost of credit.
3-0.
So this is sort of like the entry product that we are providing to customers.
Alexander, did you say 1-3 or 3-0?
3-0.
3-0. Okay, for a month.
Yeah, and then we go all the way down to our basically personal installment loan segment, where we go as low as 12% per year, and basically everything in between is sort of like the range that we're serving. So I mean, obviously, clearly, if you compare that to the interest rates, I mean, that you as a prime customer would get by your house bank, I mean that clearly
they don't compete. It's a different market.
Higher. But you need to put it into perspective, first of all, for the market where we operate. And second of all, I mean, you also need to keep in mind that we are just dealing with a pretty risky customer segment. And on average, what's going to happen, I mean, organically, I mean, around half of our customers don't end up repaying, which might be a case. Sorry, I mean, let me correct it. I mean, if we would give 100% of people who apply for a loan, I mean, about half of those people would not repay. Of course, I mean, by our technology, we can very well predict which are those customers, I mean, that we want to borrow to, because we think they're willing and able to actually repay. But it's still, I mean, it's still a different segment of riskiness. So therefore, this is also something that we have to take into account. And our pricing actually assumes that a certain fraction of people are just
what fraction, Alexander, do you assume?
Sorry?
What fraction do you assume? So if you have $100 million in origination loans, how much will you just assume kind of in your executive meetings won't be repaid?
That's information that we usually don't share, but I mean it's in the low double digits.
Okay, and what you're saying is that's a much higher rate than kind of typical banks, which is why you have to charge 30%.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean that's the case. However, I mean also the promise that we make to our customers is that we say, well, we know initially. We might only offer you, a high interest loan because there's just, a lot of risk that we necessarily, even with our technology cannot predict. However, with, the first, the second, and the third transaction that you do with us, we make sure that, if you repay on time, that we make a significantly better loan offer.
Yep.
So therefore, giving people a perspective that we say, even if you put them sort of like on the higher end of the price band initially, they, clearly have, a path towards, better and more attractive credit conditions. And the other thing that we do is we also give people, if we make them only, this rather sort of like pricey credit offer, we also give them an option to say, well, if you can provide us more data, such as, granting us access to some of the web service that you're using and so on, which will give us, more confidence into understanding your credit risk, then we're also happy, to come back with a revised loan offer.
Right. So yeah, you're tracking kind of repayment history. If they're great clients through you guys, maybe you'll lower their rate over time.
Exactly.
That makes good sense. Talk to me about.
We think, just maybe adding one last word to it. We think actually the highest cost of credit is actually not having any access to credit, because even for some people, even if initially there's only, that type of credit option available. It's still, a significant improvement to actually not having any easy and convenient, way to access to finance. So therefore, we think, that the way how we operate the business is actually creating a lot of benefit for our customers. And and I think we just figured out a way to do it in a way that, of course, it's also a business which is sustainable from the business model's point of view.
So you were founded, Alexander, in 2012, and then coming up through today, it looks like, based off kind of the research I did, you guys raised about $152 million in 7 rounds.
I'm not sure if it's exactly 7 rounds, but we have raised around 120 million in equity capital to date. I'm actually very proud of the investor base that we managed to bring on board. Just to drop a couple names, we have IFC and the World Bank invested. We have JC Flowers invested. We have Peter Thiel invested. So there are a couple of big names from all around the world. As you know, as a lending business, clearly, you need to sit on a certain pool of capital in order to run your business, and we are not a marketplace. So that means we actually manage our own balance sheet, and for that we raise basically both equity and debt capital.
So you have 30 million in debt capital.
We have a larger line so we work with several institutional investors on that side. So the way basically how we refinance ourselves is that we run a securitization program where we actually package and sell loans which originated to those investors.
Alexander, if you have $100 million in kind of loan originations in 2015, what ratio do you like to keep in terms of cash on hand for that kind of volume?
So we're not a bank. We're not subject to any specific capital requirements. So therefore, we can basically manage the business to the extent.
What do you like, Alexander? You and your management team. I know you're not regulated, but what would you like to have?
I don't think these are numbers that we're sharing.
Okay, is that an important number, or is that something you guys don't really care about?
So for us, the way how we look at it is to say, well, we clearly need to make sure, that we run the company on a fully funded business plan. So that means we're actually looking into how much capital do we need, to take the company to the scale where it's self-sustained in terms of cash generation, and then you configure basically the business to run it that way, to say, hey, how fast can I grow? What's sort of like the payback cycle of the portfolio that I have? How much liquidity to sort of maintain for buffering against uncertainty, and do I need to refinance at some point if yes, so I prepare that. So we really, I would say, so we really look actually, a couple of years into the future when we think of managing our liquidity, because obviously the worst case that can happen to you as a company is that you find yourself in a situation where you see that basically your liquidity is putting basic constraints around you.
Yeah, it makes good sense. Alexander, I want to wrap this thing up. Where's the best place for people to connect with you online if they want to follow you as you build the business?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Looking forward.
Well, Alexander, where's the best place for people to connect with you online if they want to follow you building the business?
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that properly. I'm all over social media, so you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Facebook, you can connect with me via Twitter. So you can shoot me an email, alexander@KreditTech.com. So I'm usually good to reach.
If you're listening right now and you do anything related to sales, or you're a CEO or anything like that, you're probably using something like Yesware or Salesforce or ToutApp or something like that to help your sales team close more deals, maybe Boomerang and Gmail. You've got to look at something that I just bought. I use this company inside my inbox to sell Heyo.com. I use it now to get podcast sponsors and all kinds of things. It helps me schedule emails to be sent later, do open tracking, set reminders, and set up auto follow-up sequences all in my inbox. I'm thinking about going all in on this, raising dozens of millions of dollars, 10, 20, maybe 50 million. Maybe we'll raise 50 million to take it. I could do that so easily. And then in 3 years, I'll be at the stock exchange and ding, 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 I'll be doing the opening bell, going public for $2, $3, $4 billion. Tell me if you think it's doable. If you're listening right now in the sales space, go to thetopinbox.com, install it, and then text me and tell me what you think.
Many people go, Nathan, you came out of nowhere. Your website's growing so fast. How'd you do it? The answer is simple. So I use HostGator. I don't know if you guys know that, but I use HostGator. And the reason I do, they have like about 4,500 free templates I can use because I don't code. They've got a great e-commerce plugin. And guys, I bug the heck out of their support. They've got 24/7 support, which I love. So what I've done is I've worked with them. You guys know I make great deals. If you go to hostgator.com/Nathan, you can sign up, get your own domain for 30% off and a 45-day money-back guarantee. Okay, again, I make great deals for you guys. Go to hostgator.com/Nathan to grab that now.
I will link to that in the show notes at nathanlatka.com/the-top514. And then Alexander, these are the last questions. These are quick questions and rapid fire one-word answers. You ready?
Yes.
First one, what's your favorite business book?
The Lean Startup.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
I'm a big fan of Elon Musk.
Number 3, is there a favorite online tool you have, like TopTal?
Now I need to think for a second. I use a lot of tools. I mean, I used to be a programmer, so I like Git, for instance, versioning system. I use that for my personal notes as well. Great tool.
Okay, good. And yes or no, do you get 8 hours of sleep every night?
No, clearly not.
What's your situation? Married, single, do you have kids?
I'm not married, but I have a girlfriend since a couple of years.
Okay. And how old are you?
No kids right now.
And how old are you, Alexander?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
And how old are you today?
I'm 28.
Okay. So last question. Take us back 8 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Well, I mean, I think I've always been playing around with the idea to at someday run my own company. I was very much driven by I was fascinated by the application of using modern age statistics to process information which is out there in the web. And I mean, I published actually, a thesis, and I've done research projects. I wrote a book about basically what's the value that can be unlocked if you go out there and use modern age technology to harvest information from the web, aggregate that, process that, and use that to make predictions. And I think that idea, that thought has been driving me basically since I was a student, an undergraduate student, and led me to the fact to actually look into which applications are there. And I mean, hedge funds and financial markets are great, but then I discovered this issue of credit scoring and basically the lack of credit data. And I said, hey, this is another perfect application where those tools and this data can add a lot of value. So that's something that has been driving me since quite a while.
Alexander, it sounds like you already knew that when you were 20. Is there something that you've learned over the past 8 years that you wish you had known when you were 20?
Oh yeah. I think there's a tremendous amount of
give us one thing
of learning. So I think, I think I would have spent more time to actually understand how to basically manage and build companies, right? I mean, this is something that, as an entrepreneur, you always probably wish, you would have spent more time learning that. So what actually happened is a lot of those things, I had to figure out myself.
Top Tribe, there you have it from Alexander. They founded the business KreditTech in 2012. They just passed their millionth kind of loan. They are currently, and in 2015, passed $100 million in loan origination fees. They did about $40 million in 2015, growing somewhere around 100% year over year, and they've raised over $120 million in equity capital, obviously with debt capital on top of that. Alexander, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed Alexander today, go back and listen to Bart Lorang yesterday. They've raised $50 million, and they've helped over 50,000 customers get accurate contact data with his company, Full Contact. Top Tribe, I love giving away free money. I feel like Oprah giving away cars, and I have something special for you today.
How many of you have heard our super sharp guests talk about success they've had with Facebook and Google ads? Well, all of you listening right now, yes, if you're listening, you get $100 in free AdWords. Here's how you get it. Okay. Again, thanks for listening. Get the free $100 from Google, right, when you sign up with my website host provider, HostGator. Go sign up now to get your free money. HostGator.com/Nathan. Again, that's HostGator.com/Nathan. Okay, Top Tribe, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. And don't forget, before you listen to any other episodes, subscribe on iTunes right now for your chance to win $100 every Monday.